everyone, and welcome, Winnipeg, to the Mike Vogiatzakis Show. Tonight we've got a lot of things to discuss. A brand new show, not going to talk about things that are, well, past. Maybe one issue that happened yesterday that we'll touch on, but there's a lot to go into for the future, and we're going to talk about that. This show tonight is all about pressure, and pressure happens in a lot of different ways. We're not talking about barometric pressure or the weather tonight. We're talking about pressure on the city, pressure on the families, pressure on the taxpayers, pressure on the public, pressure on citizens in general, and just pressure on trust. Mike is here. We've got a lot to get to. We're tackling three major issues tonight that are fueling real frustration across this city. First, City Hall's proposed protest buffer zone bylaw that could limit where citizens can demonstrate. And I got a question. I think I just shoot this out right now. Does that mean that the Pride Parade would be in a situation where they can no longer do that? Because that's a demonstration too. But we'll talk about that possibly coming up tonight on the show. Second, Premier Wab Kadew's statement that Manitoba is welcoming people fleeing violence in the United States, specifically Minneapolis, and what that means for capacity here at home. And that's a big one. I don't think Winnipeg has too much extra space to spare, and we'll touch on that topic. Plus, third tonight, Winnipeg transit routes change. Obviously, all those changes have caused lots of concerns, from delays to riders furious, even safety concerns. Now, these issues may seem separate, but they're not. They all come down to leadership, transparency, and whether citizens are actually being put first. It's all coming up right here on the Mike Vogiatzakis Show right after this.
Santa Lucia Pizza. You know it's all about the sauce. Did you also know, whether dine-in, takeout, or delivery, our menu is sure to please with a variety of options for the whole family. With quality ingredients for pizza, pasta, Greek, and so much more. Cut cooking out of your dinner plans and let Santa Lucia Pizza do all the work. With large portions, superior taste, great service, remarkable quality, and exceptional value, plus fantastic menu options, and our specialty, of course, pizza. Fresh and piping hot to your door. Pizza, pasta, Greek food, Santa Lucia. It's all about the sauce. Order online at santaluciapizza.com.
How would you like to win some of that delicious pizza? I know I sure would. Maybe that'll happen in the future.
It's all about the sauce.
It sure is. Sure is. And it tastes a whole lot better when it's free, too.
Oh,
so
man.
maybe we'll get some free pizza to give away on the program,
I'm talking
right?
to the guys from Santa Lucia to be able to give away some
and they're great guys.
gift certificates, and you could enjoy some good Santa Lucia food, pizza, pasta, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, Greek food, too. I mean, you got to like that, don't you, Mikey?
Gonna say hi to some people, and of course, Gord is number one on the show. I don't know how he does it week after week, but it looks like he's having some beers again
You know,
tonight.
back in the 80s when Gord used to phone the radio station and try to win the prizes, he was always getting free concert tickets.
Was he
would
really?
Call every single hour, every day. He'd be the first guy through, too.
And
They'd be looking for caller 99.
99. And there's Dan Ross from Ross, Manitoba. Good evening, folks. Randy. Hey, Randy. Nice to have you on the show again.
Brooke Long is here. Evening all.
And Debbie, of course, on every week. Thank you for being here, Debbie. She says, hi, guys, girls. Happy hump day from West K.
That's right. Keep scrolling, Mike, because we've already said hi to Brooks. So we got Cindy Play Horses online. Good evening. Sherry Huff Battenchuck as well. And Sandra.
Susan and Wayne Alec.
Yeah, Susan's here too tonight.
Sandra, of course.
Suzanne Morin. Ralph Randall.
A lot of people on the show tonight. Michelle Ann.
Yeah, you know, I think the numbers have been going up over the last little
Yeah,
while.
they
I
are
think
going up quite a bit, actually.
I mean, this is a little more friendly than the funeral show, to be honest.
You got to be happy when your priest is on the show. Father Nick Tabakis is on the show. Good to have him here. Barb Judge. Holy, we can go on reading names forever tonight.
He's praying for you, Mike.
I hope he is. I need all the prayer I can get. He's been trying to get me to go to confession forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, Father Nick, come on, you need like 4 or 5 days.
Brenda Ducharme's calling you right now. She wants to have a chat. Should we put her on the call or what?
Who's calling?
Just on the left, on the right there. Look at Brenda Ducharme is giving you a quick call.
Yeah, I don't think we'll take a call tonight. Just
Okay.
because.
Sorry, Brenda, we're not going to be able to get to your call
Just
tonight.
because we got such a show lined up.
We
right
should
now.
set that up though, because that'd be
Yeah, that'd
kind
be
of fun,
cool.
eh?
I
That'd be
never
kind of
knew
fun.
you could do that.
I've got the unit. I just have to set it up, man.
Well, if we
We'll
would
do
have
that.
answered it, Brenda would have been live on. Is that?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Wow,
she could
that's
have been.
cool.
She could have been on the program with us.
Father Nick says confession. I don't have all day. So some sad things happening in the world, and we have another mass shooting in Canada, the largest mass shooting yet. 10 dead and 25 injured. Brad and I both
Very,
want
very
to
sad
offer
day.
our deepest condolences to the families that are affected by this, and also the community in general. Something that shouldn't be happening, but it's happening more and more. And there's something in common about these shootings, Brad.
There is. Yep.
And
Yep.
it's really sad that that's happening all around the world, and it seems to be the same group of people that are leading the shootings. In Winnipeg today, something that people were looking for, a pair was sentenced to 12 years in prison for animal cruelty.
12 years.
So they were killing cats and bunnies and putting them on the internet and actually making money by
What?
selling the videos.
No.
So it was Irene and Chad, and they're off to federal prison. They got 2 years plus a day. That means Stony Mountain.
Stony Mountain, general
so
population.
that's where
Good
Chad's
luck
going to
there.
go, and he had his time killing animals. Can you believe that? Like, how dumb are you to kill animals, put the
Videotape it.
video on the internet, and sell it to people for money?
Yeah. What a.
There is somebody who has no value for life. In Winnipeg, also, a family dispute led to arson.
Oh yeah.
So the two women are dead, and believe it or not, 19 people were in this house.
Oh.
And they set the one of the family members set the patio on fire, and ended up killing two of his family members. How sad! And in Winnipeg again, probably thanks to the Catch and Release program, another shooting. Police are investigating another shooting that took place near the Daniel Mack area.
Oh really? When did that happen?
That happened yesterday too. So we got a whole bunch of stuff happening in the city. Terrible. And I mean, in the comments, I'm sure we're gonna read a lot about.
Did you see all this in like CBC,
No.
CTV Global? I'm just asking.
I
I'm
stay
curious.
up to date on things, man. And February 10th is going to be a day that goes down in history in Tumbler Ridge, BC. And
Yeah.
how sad is that, eh, Brad? I mean, innocent
That's-
people going to school, and they leave their house and say goodbye to their loved ones and never come back again.
Well, it's seriously tragic, and the whole situation with the way that these school shootings are happening are not just happening across Canada or in Canada, they're happening across the U.S. as well on a regular basis down there compared to here. This is going to be one of the biggest shootings, massacres in Canada to ever happen. This is something that is so tragic. We're talking children in their middle school years, so from 10 to 14, and they get in.
And the sad thing is, who knows how many more are going to die?
Well,
like we're at 10 deaths
20,
already.
25 people in the hospital, all injured. One little girl was shot in the head. Her mom is praying for her, and they're trying to. she's had
And you know what
two surgeries already.
I would suggest that we all pray, say a prayer in your hearts.
and
Father
maybe that's
Nick's
why.
on there
Maybe
now,
that's
and-
why he's here today.
Yeah, maybe Father Nick, you could say a prayer for these families. I mean, what a terrible thing. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. If you think it can happen to you, it can. And a perfect example of that
That's
was
right.
Kyriakis. He gets up in the morning, goes to work, and never comes back home. And a lot of these people here, 10 of them, and 25 who were in hospital, and they didn't even have enough staff in the hospital
Right.
to manage the amount of
That's
people
right. And
coming in.
they were sending people to all kinds of different towns around that area, and they couldn't accommodate. And people were airlifted out to Vancouver immediately because obviously a gunshot wound isn't going to be taken care of in your local hospital.
Bad day. The world is heading in the wrong direction when more and more of this stuff's happening.
So what do you think? The government going to the news media is already painting this as though it's the guns problem.
Well, it's not the gun that kills people. It's not the gun that goes and sets
No,
off.
I think you got to go
it's-
back to the hammer situation,
Yeah.
which is what causes more deaths, the hammer or the man holding the hammer, right?
Exactly.
It's the same thing, right? I mean, it's not the hammer's fault. The hammer
But you're
did
right.
nothing.
They're going to blame it on gun owners, and
Well,
you
they're
know,
already trying to confiscate the guns, and that's a big issue going around the country right now. How do you
Yeah.
feel about
Well,
that,
I-
Mike?
you know,
want
I
them
don't-
to come to your house and take your guns?
I don't like it. I think people that are hunters who've got their hunter safety courses,
So-
who use their guns for a good purpose.
So let's relate this now to Winnipeg, because I think that's a big thing, and this is where your opinion comes
so
in.
I think it's wrong
You,
that,
you saw what happened
yeah.
today, right? Mayor Gillingham has stepped aside on the issue and said that he's not going to follow in the footsteps of the Winnipeg Police Department, which is saying they're going to confiscate.
But let me tell you something. The Winnipeg Police, Scott Gillingham, the Winnipeg Police pretty much answer to him. That's a civil
That's
matter,
interesting.
right?
So do you think that'll go through?
Well, Scott Gillingham passes on the rules to the City of Winnipeg Police, and kind of controls what happens when he doesn't control the officers themselves, but definitely has a point of view with the City of Winnipeg Police.
Right.
And for him to step away is silly because he's the one controlling the whole situation. And this is what I talk about all the time when I say
stepping away, though, he's only stepping away from really being on the side of confiscation. So that's actually a good thing. I think that the guns need to stay. So
Scott Gillingham did a good thing, folks.
Right. Well, that's what I was trying to point out, is that we're not all hacking on him all the time. He does do some things, and we got to pat him on the back when he does step.
But it's so wrong, because there's people that hunt and love hunting or just game shooting, and to take guns away from people that are law-abiding citizens is wrong.
100%.
And that's why right across Canada they've stepped away from it, except for the City of Winnipeg.
These are hunters. We're not talking about taking away the guns from the gangs. I think that's all still got to happen. You still have to do your due diligence on illegal firearms.
I think you got to ask the question: why do they want to take the guns away from hunters? Why do they want to take guns away that were legally bought? People legally got licenses for them. They went and bought them.
They're part of our culture for the last 250 years. I mean, come on.
Think about how many deer, for example, would get hit by cars if it wasn't, I know a lot of people maybe aren't into hunting, but hunting is a reality of life. People kill to eat the food. And I don't think it's right when people go out and just shoot something for fun. And when you go out and deer hunting or moose hunting, whatever the case may be, and you're putting that,
well, I've seen a new way to attract all of the wildlife. I've seen it done here in Canada recently in the last 5 years. They just throw little breadcrumbs down, grab the duck by the feet or the goose by the feet, and take it home, right? And then you know what's happening then, right? So there's no gun involved.
No.
Maybe the government wants us to embark on that path.
Are they going to take away our bow and arrows and
well, that's next,
all
right?
that kind of stuff?
Crossbows,
knives. Guns don't kill people. People kill.
Well, you got to put this in the same category as knives in a sense. The knife doesn't kill anybody. It's the person holding the knife.
And it's what are we going to do? Take everyone's knives away? Because I can tell you, as a funeral director,
common sense is out the window.
We do more deaths by knives than we do by guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
And that's not including in the people that are in hospitals on a daily basis who've been
because
shot.
There's not that many guns in this country to begin with, and when they are, who has guns is the hunters, and they're locked up most of the time.
And I think hunters have a right to have guns, and if I ever became mayor of the city, for sure.
Hey, Remedy, make it on time next time, all right? You're a bit late tonight. Good to be here with you. Thanks
Remedy Max, unbelievable. I can't believe you're late tonight.
Jeez.
Crazy.
We mentioned you earlier, wondering where you were. We talked about you for 5 minutes already. No. All right, so protest buffer zones, another something we're going to talk about, right? Because protection and overreach and all that jazz. So is that somewhere you want to head next, or you got another topic to talk about?
No, I think I'm good. I've talked about all the topics that are happening in Winnipeg right now.
That breaking news kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, breaking news is good to know.
So, what's up with these buffer zones? It's protection or overreach? I don't understand, Mike. What's City Hall actually proposing here? Tell me about the proposal.
So, City Hall has drafted up a safe access to vulnerable infrastructure bylaws. So, this is really interesting because what does that mean? They mentioned what they're doing. They're saying it would create a 100-meter buffer zone around hospitals, schools, child care centers, and places of worship.
I mean, that's
good. That's good. But let's just say University of Winnipeg, Manitoba students want to protest something.
Yeah, get off the road.
Well, no, they can't do it now because they're going to get a fine. It says you can't do it around schools.
100-meter buffer zone around the school. But
hospitals.
So are they talking about the front doors of the schools, like the actual entrance, or are they talking about the property?
Well, they're talking.
That's what they don't mention there.
Yeah, and they don't mention a lot of other things.
Right.
So once they pass the bylaw, right?
They can do whatever.
They can do what they want because now it's a bylaw. So
that's right.
This is how sneaky they are. So they take the little things that people care about because, when you mention schools and you mention hospitals and you mention daycares, well, people are saying, good, we don't want protests around those places. But that's only to pass the bylaw. And then once they get into it, what happens is there's a violation that's going to take place. And
that's right.
It could be a fine starting at $500 up to $5,000. To me, this sounds like another City of Winnipeg scam to take your money away.
The cops are going to enforce that, I assume?
Police and bylaw officers are going to enforce it, but are they really? Are the police can actually, how many people are they going to put in jail? Because when we get some large, remember a little while ago outside the Health Science Center, hundreds of nurses protested.
Yeah, that's right.
The stated goal is safe access. That's the official position of the city of Winnipeg. But I don't buy it, Brad.
You don't have to go right to the front doors to protest
No.
of anywhere, man. I mean, you can stand back. You can stand 100 yards away and still protest. Look, I got one that'll trump you on this all, because the same thing is happening in our government right now. They're basically doing the same thing. They're setting up some bills that are going to basically give the government officials permission to be the law.
That's right.
For 6 years, and that's again more concerning than having a little protest 100 meters away from a building. So
What's funny to me is, why are we worrying about little things like this, like people protesting? It's your right to do that. It's your right to protest.
It is.
And a peaceful there's nothing wrong with a peaceful protest.
Correct.
So what drives me crazy is we have so many other problems in the city of Winnipeg. So Mayor Gillingham and council are worried about this. This is the big problem now. Another bill to be passed. Another bylaw to be passed.
I still
or
think
what?
it comes down to them being criticized, how they have to take that criticism. And that's right. I could go to this picture here that we put up here tonight. I'll just show you here, everybody. Let me go back to the right one, though. It's this one, actually. There we go. I hear you, Mike Vogiatzakis. And that's the big part of this, is that you're not going to not hear. You're going to listen, and that's something that's unique in its own way, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't want to pay attention.
Yeah, my biggest part of running for mayor is not to be a hero or for the money. It's to listen to people, step outside my box and make a difference in the city of Winnipeg by giving you a voice and putting people first. And it's really about time people did that. It's about time somebody was in City Hall who stood up for the people, who cared about the people, who listened to the people, and made sure that their voices are heard.
I heard a good one, and it was from another city. One of our writers at Wake Up Canada News was saying this about his particular mayor in that particular town in Ontario. And you know what? The problem's in Ontario, folks. But he basically said, our mayor is somewhat that guy who is really childish. So we need to put some adults back in the room.
Yeah, no kidding. We need to put people in a room who aren't following a global agenda.
Well, that too.
And
that's a big part of this. We have to stand on our own and make our own decisions. You can't do this from around the world and say that Winnipeg needs this or that or the other.
Mike Vogiatzakis is not politically connected, and I'm going to run on that when I run for mayor, that I'm independent. I don't have to answer to these big parties, and I definitely don't have to follow the global agenda, the World Economic Forum, all these things that are...
None of these people have to do.
They don't have to.
They can walk away and stop right now. I mean, the
what's-
Reeves, the mayors, anybody involved with the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region could just get up and leave the table and say, I'm done. So is our local constituents.
So I want you to know something about the Western... What is it called?
Western Standard?
Western... No, the they were going around the communities all around with... what's it called again?
Ken?
No, Ken. With
Manitoba Stronger Together.
Yeah. So, and Mayor Gillingham was actually sitting on that board.
That's right.
Including other mayors from across Manitoba.
Reeves, yeah, that's right. They still sit there. They're the same guys.
What they're finally doing is getting it. They're getting it, and they're finally saying, we're out.
Yep.
And the more people that are out, the better it is.
It matters. It matters, and communities are standing up.
The whole point of that was, obviously this was, part of the World Economic Forum plan, pushing it down the tube, trying to get Manitoba on board. And
we're a long ways from being done. UNDRIP is still happening. The UNDRIP Declaration of Indigenous Rights.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to... It's already started to happen in transition over in British Columbia. Will it make its way here? Yes, it's going to make its way all across this country, and we've heard and seen about it over the last few months. And that's something else that's just, again, coming from another global statue of leadership that is not really leadership. It's global tyranny.
When Randolph says, when is the local election in Winnipeg? So basically, in May, you could register to be a mayoral candidate, and then in October is when they finally vote in a new mayor and hopefully a new council. Hopefully in my opinion, we need to get rid of everyone and start all over again. Anyways, let's get back to this bill.
Yeah, you're going to need to know who you're with in that room, Mike, and
exactly.
that's a big part of this.
And if I'm with the same people in a room, then what's the point of being there? Because they've done, some other things are going to happen. You're going to see people that are on council now running for mayor. And, I'm going to make the difference. But all the time that they've been there, they haven't made a difference. So don't be fooled this time. Educate yourself today for peace of mind tomorrow. That's a big thing.
Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. So, when we talk about what's coming, we were discussing really
The bylaw.
yeah, and why now? Why now? Why?
I think after controversial protests near sensitive community places and spaces in 2025, council faced pressure to act. I think that's what they're going to go on. Some residents felt intimidated. City Hall responding to that pressure now. And I think it's people in City Hall that's feeling intimidated. But the question is, how far will this response go? That's a big question.
It is. And what's the concern, Mike?
The definition of nuisance demonstration is broad, and that's a big thing. So they use these words. It can include amplified sound without permits. So what they're passing here is, the bylaw officers could go after a lot of people,
Right.
and that's blocking access. So what do we do? And I'm really curious about this, and they're the only ones who get away with it. But let's talk about our indigenous community,
Right.
when they block off Portage and Main, or they do their protests. So this is going to be another thing that's going to affect them, because according to the bylaw officers and the city police
Palestinian
and the mayor,
protests, all of it, right? Like everybody.
do we go after everyone? And some of these protests I could see, that need to be stopped. And we were at City Hall doing something for the fire paramedics, and what happened beside us? A protest that probably shouldn't be in there. But I think it's for certain forms of objection or disapproval near these zones. So cities argue the wording would capture peaceful but innocent protests also, and I believe that the concern is not safety here; it's a
No.
scope,
Sure.
and they're using this to open up a ball of wax that they can. I mean, let's face it, bylaw officers are already chasing people for dollars, and I think what this comes down to is the almighty dollar.
Oh.
That's what it comes down to. The city of Winnipeg is attacking local citizens every day of the week on bylaw enforcements.
That's true, and that's how they make a buck. Do we already have laws for blocking access, though? Because if we do, then fines are already in place. And,
Yes, police
this
already.
doesn't necessarily isn't needed.
Exactly.
It's just
Police
they're
already have
rewording it so that they can get away with it.
Yeah, police already have authority to deal with obstruction and harassment and threats. So some are asking, is this filling a gap or expanding power? To me, it's expanding power. And that's what they're doing right now, is expanding power of bylaw officers. It almost like COVID.
Yeah.
So they picked up random people and they said, oh, now you're going to be an official person who can go out and
Right.
give tickets. And they had a whole bunch of people doing that. Why?
did.
Because they passed a bylaw, and then it was open season.
Yeah, we're
for
talking about
everyone.
an hour-long little training session. Here's your little yellow vest, and get out there and give tickets. How could this affect the average Winnipegger, Mike?
I think it affects trust. So I think people are already losing trust in City Hall, the mayor and council. When people need to see expanded restrictions, they ask, is City Hall solving a problem here or managing people's voices? At the same time, families want schools and hospitals protected. And I think they're going to use a lot of that. That's the balance. Protected access. But don't unconditionally shrink lawful expression. So there's lots going on here that's opening doors. And a lot of people don't even know what's going on. So a lot of people aren't even aware that Scott Gillingham and council actually put this forth as a new bylaw that they're going to vote on.
So where does Mayor Gillingham stand on all this? Because that's another big question.
So like any mayor, Mayor Gillingham leads council. He sets the tone, just like I would if I was the mayor. If the public feels restrictions are increasing with frustrations remain unsolved, leadership will be judged on that balance. And I think that's where Scott Gillingham's at now.
Now, what's the key question before this vote then? Is this going to be one of them, Mike?
Is this bylaw nearly targeted at a true obstruction, or is it intimidation? Or is it broad enough to chill lawful protests? So that's a big thing. People want to protest. People want to get out in the streets and make their point known.
Like Shelley's slow roll can't happen no more.
How about the protests? I think there's one this Friday
Yeah,
on Portage and Main.
that's right.
I think Winnipeg deserves clarity before council votes. And whatever happened to the people deciding,
Definition needs to be spoken a little bit clearer, right? You need transparency there, and you can't be wishy-washy and leave it open-ended, because that just obviously isn't going to sit well with the citizens, but it also leaves them in control in a way that they've never had power before.
correct? Yeah.
So, okay, moving on to this next big question. Now, this is the one I think where, you know, yeah, Mike, you know, Premier Wab Canoe says Manitoba is welcoming people fleeing from violence from the United States. Now, these are facts, but what's really going on there? Because these protests that are happening down there, it's not like Minnesotans want to leave. We've got a Somalian community there that seems to be in a mess load of trouble over the fraud that they've committed, and now, you know, the mayor and the governor down there would love to send them all here, and you know, our mayor's going to welcome them in with open arms. So is our premier. What's going on?
Well, I mean, the premier publicly stated Manitoba remains welcoming. So what does that tell people in Minneapolis and wherever they're getting kicked out of? You're welcome to come to Manitoba. We have a home for you.
Is that like Muslim values or Canadian values?
Well,
like what's this about?
I think Carney said that we have Muslim values.
Well, you know we did.
Yeah.
No,
Officials have said there is no confirmed large surge right now. Immigration is a federal jurisdiction.
Right.
So obviously, Wab Canoe is working with the federal government on this and opening up the doors. So obviously, he's speaking with Carney. Carney's saying, yes, open up your city to these people who want to come in. But housing,
you know,
healthcare.
I've got to mention one more person.
Sure.
Because this person always gets eliminated, but the lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
They are in charge of the WAB situation. They come from the Ottawa background, and that's who's dictating down to the provinces. Is the lieutenant governors of every province.
So the rumor is
Yeah.
that Wab Canoe is going to leave provincial politics and run for
Premier. Oh, no, Prime Minister.
prime minister, and he's going
Yeah.
to try and take over the NDP and be the leader of the NDP party. So
Does that make the land transfers happen a whole lot quicker?
well, yeah, you look at that
You know?
too. But let's talk about housing and healthcare and shelters and transit and policing and the pressure on the lands locally. Because if you bring in more people, we're already having struggles on our streets. You see everything is slowed down. There's more homeless people on the streets, more drugs, more mental health. So this isn't about ideology. It's about doing the right thing and taking care of Manitobans first. And what we're doing is we're putting Manitobans on the back doorstep, leaving them there, welcoming new people who get the whole world given to them. And you know what's going to happen here too, because they're coming in as refugees.
Well, I don't think they're coming. Personally, I got a feeling that they're going to get here and go, Winnipeg? Oh, no way, man.
I don't know, Brad.
I'm turning around and going the other way.
They'd probably rather come to Winnipeg than go back to where they come from.
Well,
war-torn countries.
They may, but you know what? Sand is sometimes better than snow. I'd take the sand any day of the week after living in this snow for 50 years, right? Like.
Yeah. Well.
Why are people uneasy in Winnipeg about this topic? Obviously, there's a lot of animosity.
Yeah, I think because people are already stretched. You know, we go to emergency rooms; they're already backed up, and in this last week, there's been numerous deaths because of lack of care in the hospitals. They're saying even nurses are saying, you know, St. Boniface Hospital is a danger zone right now. So when nurses are standing up and saying, we have a problem, you need to listen.
Well, let's talk about St. Boniface Hospital while we're on that topic real quick, because that's an issue now. This all just came up, and they're basically saying that the place is unfixable now and that there's a lot of damage with regards to the building. And
well, there's not only that, but there's a lack of doctors.
Well, there's
healthcare aides,
internal SOP, standard operating procedures that are breaking down too. But
I'm in St. Boniface.
When you close a building of that size, Mike.
Well, we're in trouble.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
a
don't
lot
forget,
of people get operated on there.
The St. Boniface Hospital
I had 2 operations
exactly
there, and I've only lived here for 5 years.
They are the heart hospital. Like, you know, the
Yeah.
Buehler Center is the heart
It's
care
it's the
right
big
there.
one. How
So-
long does it take to build a hospital, Mike?
Well, you know what? I don't think they're going to be building a hospital. I mean, look at even the Health Science Center.
Yeah,
It's
but
put-
if they take this one out of commission, then they're going to have to deal with a heart hospital.
You know, I was
aren't
at the hospital today and talking to
they?
some
Maybe they can move that to the misery.
high-profile people there, and it doesn't look like they're going to close down hospital. What they're concerned about more than anything is the amount of press they're getting right now with the amount of deaths they've had, where families are saying, "Hey, this could have been prevented
Well,
if."
I read a story about a little immigrant boy who was here, and he had an esophagus problem, and his esophagus had a hole in it. And what ended up happening was they took him in, and they knew something was wrong, and
Right.
he sat there for 12 or 15 hours, and he didn't get any treatment, and he ended up dying.
And you know what I can tell you as a funeral director, that we're seeing more and more of that. People going to hospitals. You know, a perfect example would have been Mike McIver.
Right.
So Mike McIver is one of our funeral directors of the funeral. Went to St. Boniface Hospital, had an AKG done, was there for quite a while, was told he was fine, went home, and then was having chest pains again. And then he decided to go to Selkirk Hospital because our crematorium is in Selkirk. But before he did that, here's what happens. St. Pete sends him home. He's at the crematorium working with Josh, my son, and he starts having chest pains.
Right.
And he has a stroke right at the crematorium. Lucky Josh was there to save his life because the hospital's 2 minutes away.
He would have been on the ground.
He would have been dead.
Yeah.
So we call Josh calls an ambulance. They get him to Selkirk Hospital in time. And Selkirk Hospital, when I went there, gave him the best care I've ever seen somebody get. So Mike McIver is alive now, but St. Boniface Hospital let him down. He would have died. It's almost like the justice system let our family down. Well, now it's happening in hospitals every day of the week, and I can't even start to tell you how many deaths we're getting because people are sent home because of lack of care, and families are always saying, I want an autopsy. I believe the hospital killed my loved one.
What do people say to you when you show up at the hospital to pick up somebody out of the morgue and, you're doing your job and the next thing you know, you're a crowd around you? What?
So we really don't get to see, people don't get to see what we do in the morgue. So the morgue's in a different part of the hospital. We go in, we do our jobs.
I'm talking about when you walk in the front doors and you're walking through the hospital.
So we never walk
after talking the way we talk on the show.
So we never walk through the front doors. We go through the back door, and then we walk to a place called admitting where we get our paperwork. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. Hey, Mike, you're our voice. You're talking about what's wrong.
So you have doctors and nurses coming up to you in the hallways of the St. Boniface Hospital, for example, and they're talking to you openly. Yeah?
So I've had nurses talk to me openly. I've had doctors talk to me openly, and what they're saying is there's definitely a problem, and basically the emergency rooms are packed. If you want a heart operation or if you want something, it's backed up. So people are struggling, and another perfect example is my father-in-law. He's been, this drives me crazy because this is our elderly population, the people that built the city in this province, and they're being pushed around. He's gone from Concordia to Seven Oaks, from Seven Oaks to another hospital, and now back at Seven Oaks again, Misericordia. So why are they doing this to the elderly, just pushing them around from place to place? And, at the end of it all, they just say, well, we're going to release you at the end of this month. Yet he's had 2 broken hips. So I got a chance to be in the hospitals to see the care. It's not the hardworking people who are there again. It's not the doctors or the nurses or the healthcare aides or the people providing the food. It's the system. The system is 100% broken. And when we closed down all our hospitals, we left the elderly stranded. I mean, they can't even take care of the emergencies that are coming in right now. Let's talk about...
That's it. Emergency rooms are backed up, and there's other problems,
We know that. People are dying in emergency rooms waiting 20, 25 hours. That's crazy. We're in Canada, the land of opportunity. And here we are losing loved ones in a hospital waiting room while they're waiting to get care.
Yep.
It's disgusting. It's 100% disgusting, and it shouldn't happen in our country right here in Canada. So if you're talking about bringing more people in when we can't even take care of who we have now, that's telling you
just one issue
that you're going to be on the holding list next.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's talk about affordable housing.
There you go.
So we already see that, the homeless population is rising. With the cost of, we talked about this last week, water sometimes is doubled in most people's houses. We're talking about garbage pickup. We're talking about all these extra fees. And people are saying, hey, I'm on the verge of being homeless myself. How do I keep up with this? We have an enlarged encampment site like we've never seen before. It's growing. They're everywhere. You drive around the city and there's tents set up everywhere. So what happens when there's not enough housing? Not only housing, but affordable housing. Scott Gillingham keeps talking about, we're putting something together that has 500 units with 100 affordable housing units. Come on, man. Either you're going to do it right or you're not going to do it all. If I was mayor, it's like we're putting 500 suites together and those 500 are going to be all affordable housing. That's how it should be. So, of course, we leave the opportunity open for people to make money, right? Forget the people that are homeless, the people that are struggling, the people that are on social assistance, the people that need housing. Let's only give them 100 out of the 500. I'm just picking numbers out of the air here. But we're also talking about a transit issue here. So people that are taking transit are struggling. It's unstable. They took a system that was working and they 100% broke it. You know, it's lucky we haven't had a brutally cold winter, because I'm positive we would have had a death or maybe a few deaths this winter because of the distance people have to walk, the cold that you have to bear. And I remember just last week, I don't know if you were there, but I was at a cemetery, Brookside Cemetery, doing a burial. The wind is blowing, the snow is blowing, it's 40 some odd below, and my ears are frozen. I got a hat on, I got gloves on. The kids are crying at the graveside. We just couldn't do it. So right away, I think in my head, well, I'm a funeral director. I have a warm car waiting for me, a minute away. But how about these people that are waiting at a bus stop? These people who have to walk because the bus stop disappeared. The people that have to go to hospitals, and they've taken the bus stop away from the hospitals. It's unacceptable. I don't care what anyone says. Mayor Gillingham and the council have failed you and your families when he took away the bus stops that belonged where they belonged. 2,200 bus stops, gone.
Let me make a correction and a retraction, because not really the thing he meant to say, but I don't care what anybody says. He does care what everybody says. That was just a slip up.
Yeah,
I'm going to correct that right now. That was a heat of the moment.
Sometimes you get pumped,
A heat of the moment situation, and he listens to everybody, and that's exactly why we're able to put that poster up beside you tonight, because we know you do hear them.
I do hear them, but
and
I also hear the people right now. What frustrates me, Brad, is I get calls every day about people and the bus and the transit situation, and people are frustrated and they're angry, and they've written letters, they've signed petitions.
What's it going to take? One person or two people to die? What's it going to take?
What is it going to take before? Is somebody going to freeze to death? It's just wrong.
It's unacceptable.
People can't get groceries now. People who are taking kids to daycares, people are losing jobs. People are frustrated. I'm frustrated for you. And you figure a mayor and a council would do the right thing here and say, hey, we got a serious issue. This isn't something on the back burner. This has been one of the hottest topics since it's happened. And here's what I say to you, because it's the only thing I can say to you. For the people that are on that bus site, I think there's over 1,000 people.
Right.
Here's what I say to you. Scott Gillingham and his council have had a chance to change things, to make things better. Don't wait, or don't be fooled again when they do it, a couple of weeks before election, and they say, oh, yes, we hear you. We're going to make it better for you. No, don't fall for that.
You're hearing it now.
They failed you, and they're going to continue to fail you. And I'm telling you that everybody in city council needs to be gone. Every single person. And then people will say, well, how about Russ Wyatt? Listen, they all voted for this at the same time. They all voted for it together, and then it happened. Now maybe Russ wants to run for mayor. I don't know what the situation is. Oh, I'm the hero now. I want to save you. I want to give you our council failed you. And then other people standing up. No, don't listen to that nonsense. It's nonsense. City council has a job to do, and they have failed you as a team.
Same thing with your MLAs.
MLAs too.
Yeah, we've got to make change, and the only way to do that is to take back control.
I'm saying that we're going to see a lot of things from now till when the election starts. Like Scott Gillingham's been on the he's been trying to become mayor for another year, right? He's been out there pushing things, changing things, bringing new projects out. But anyways.
Okay, families are always under pressure. They hear that, we're going to welcome more here, and there's some real issues. So, like, how? How are we going to do this? How is this going to not, cause intolerance within the city even more? There's just a lot going on. So are Manitobans being told the financial impact, Mike? Do you think they understand that this is going to cost Manitobans because taxes will have to increase? Why? Because more services are required, whether it's water, whether it's healthcare, whether it's school. Yeah. Everything is going to increase.
That's the real question, Brad.
It is.
That is the real question. How much federal funding is guaranteed? We don't know. What's the per person costs? These are questions that are important. How many housing units are available today, right now? Is there? Because every time I see, people looking for housing, we can't find any. What happens if numbers exceed projections? These are all questions the mayor and city council need to ask themselves. If you don't show the numbers to people, they assume the worst. That's accountability. And we're not seeing any accountability. Transparency. Are we seeing any transparency because transparency prevents division. And if they were transparent to you, whether it's for the buses, whether it's for housing, then you'd feel a little more at ease going, yeah, we have the answers.
Well, a little more at ease. This is creating all kinds of tension in Winnipeg, isn't it, Mike?
It is. I mean, it could if leadership doesn't communicate clearly. I mean, it causes confusion. When resources feel limited, people worry about being pushed further back in the line. And you're seeing that at grocery stores right now. You go in there to buy food, and a lot of times you can't even find that food you want because it's gone. And is it going to be another one of these rushes for toilet paper?
Well, it could be.
I mean, it's human nature. If the government says, here's the plan, here's the funding, here's the housing that we're going to supply, here's how existing residents are going to be protected. These are questions that they should be answering.
Well, they will be, but they're going to do it under their own tyranny and oppression.
Tension drops. So when I run for mayor and I bring out my campaign, my promises to you, it works two ways. I can't do it alone as mayor. You need a council who's going to agree with you. That's why I'm saying, if you want change, if you want a new future for your families, we need to go out. And I tell this to everyone. I say, I guarantee you, I have a movement going on. I have a movement of people following me who care, who want compassion, who want love, who want to be understood, who want to be heard. And I think, and I predict this in advance, we are going to have the largest turnout of voters ever in a civic election.
Who do you think's responsible? Mayor Gillingham?
Well, he doesn't control immigration. That's clear.
But when you open the door and you say, come on in, and you're working with another mayor and another
But
governor?
he does control the city of Winnipeg's, prepares for everything, right? He prepares the citizens for what's going to happen. And this is another thing that drives me crazy. People say, oh, the mayor has nothing to do with anything to do with the provincial and federal government. Wrong. The mayor has a voice. The mayor is your voice. The mayor speaks on behalf of you, the people. So his voice needs to be loud and clear, and he needs to make the right decisions and reach out to the provincial and federal government and make sure that Winnipeg citizens are kept happy, who are kept satisfied, who are able to eat, who are able to have housing. We need a housing strategy. We need a transit strategy that works. We need policing resources. We need budget allocation. And this is another thing. Where's the budgets going? People say, where's the money? The money has always been there. They collect your taxes. They collect business taxes. They collect all kinds of fines. All that stuff is there. But what we need to do is allocate this money to the proper places. Where it's needed, not stupid projects, not pet projects like we've seen. So in addition, we need to demand the city services strain no further. We have to look to City Hall for that. That's the bottom line. Leadership must speak honestly and to full capacity.
So what do you think the one question that Winnipeg citizens deserve answered right now? You get a lot of questions every day, every week, every month. I mean, you tell me about the 100,000 emails you get and little texts, and everybody's got a question, but what's the one that comes to mind that's probably the most important or the most asked right now?
So I think what is Winnipeg's current maximum services capacity without reducing quality for existing residents? I mean, sorry, I was just going back to the other thing here. Like, for example, they give us a number, then they give us the plan to expand it. Compassion and planning cannot coexist. Can coexist. That's what I meant to say. But compassion without capacity creates instability.
Yep.
And I think that's a true statement. And instability hurts everyone, including the newcomers. So when the newcomers come here, we definitely want them to be happy. We want them to live a good life. We want them to be part of our communities,
That's
which
right.
they would be. We're not saying that we don't want people here. We're saying we want people here when the time is right, when we can all work together and make this,
Okay, you're right. But let's take this one step further again, because I think this is super important. It's about temporary foreign workers mostly when we speak. We've got a lot of them here. You know that. You know that the government's subsidizing the wages, and there's no jobs left for Canadians. And that's the real issue. Canadians should be coming first. And that's what's not happening.
Yeah. I also want to answer the question. I kind of got off topic there. So I want to answer the question. You said, Mike, why are so many people angry, right? And I kind of bypassed that.
Well, there's a lot of different things they're angry
because
about.
transit isn't theory. And that's true. It's survival for many people. That's how we get to work. That's how we get our groceries. That's how we take our kids to daycare. That's how we get to Winnipeg Jets games. That's how a lot of people, like if you're taking transit, usually it's because you need to. When a bus is late, someone misses work. When a route changes overnight, seniors get stranded. Your mom and dad and my mom and dad, you change things on them and they get stranded. When connection fails, a student misses classes, and we're seeing that more and more. Transit riders are often working class citizens. They don't have backup options. They need that bus. When transit fails, they pay immediately. And I've heard that over and over from people, that all of these things are happening to citizens right here in Winnipeg, and it is hurting them.
So it's obviously about recent route design.
That's a big part of it. I mean, let's face it. The redesign aimed to modernize the system, but the rollouts matter. So how do we do that? How do we fix a system when we go to a company in Alberta and we ask them, well, how do we fix our Winnipeg transit? Well, they don't know. Why don't you talk to Winnipeggers? Communication matters. Testing matters. Many riders feel the change came faster than the clarity did. And that drives me crazy because they didn't test it. They just did it. They changed it overnight. And all of a sudden, people are stranded. And people that were used to a routine, all of a sudden, that routine was gone. And that's really, in my opinion, disgusting that they would do that to the citizens of Winnipeg. And that's a lot of frustration, Brad.
Yeah, so what about safety concerns on buses now and at bus stops? Because there's a lot of things that happen in the dark and even in the middle of the day, it seems, here in Winnipeg.
Well, safety preparation is crucial, obviously. If riders feel uneasy, ridership drops, and we're seeing that now. If ridership drops, revenue pressure increases. It's becoming a cycle. Most riders are respectfully hardworking people. They go to work, they want to be safe, they want to get on the bus, they want to get home to their families, they want to get to work to do their job and make their paycheck. But a visible disorder is a slow response to the lack of visible presence that creates anxiety. And that's exactly what's happening right now. A lot of anxiety, a lot of frustrated people, a lot of people fighting back. Transit must feel safe. Not eventually safe, Brad. Like when you get on a transit bus, maybe you and I should take a ride on a transit bus and see what it's like. We need it to be immediately safe. And I can tell you that I seriously have a plan for transit. And I think it's going to work. And it's about safety, and it's about accountability for the city of Winnipeg and knowing what's happening on that bus, when it's happening, and who's getting on that bus. And can't go any further than that, but just like that sign says, I'm going to listen. I've been asking questions for a long time now, and the questions have been starting the conversation, because a lot of people say, well, where's your answers? Where's your solution? Well, I don't have a solution right now. Well, I do, but I can't release it, and I will in the future. Come May, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, is the we'll talk about all kinds of things.
So is this a funding problem?
Funding is always part of a conversation, right? As a businessman, I know that more than anything. But management and communication matters just as much. Managers need to communicate. And I've had, I'm going to release something that's pretty big that Transit's doing. And let me tell you something. The city of Winnipeg riders are going to be furious when I release this, because it's happening to you every day of the week. It's happening to you right now when you get on a bus or you're thinking of getting on a bus. If citizens don't know why changes are happening or what improvements to expect, they all assume failure. Wouldn't you say that's true? Transparency builds patience. Silence fuels anger. And that's exactly what's happening. Silence has fueled anger. Scott Gillingham and council are not talking to the people. They're not responding to the people. They're saying, Brad, you're going to get used to it. Hey, Randy, you're going to get used to it. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. So how does this connect to the bigger picture? Because that's the bigger picture is something weirder.
It connects perfectly. When you combine, restrictions on protest, questions about service capacity, transit instability, rising living costs, you create pressure. And pressure without relief turns into frustration. Winnipeg citizens feel squeezed from every direction right now. Transit is a daily reminder of that squeeze. And more and more people are sending me messages about it. But I have finally just come to the conclusion that there's nothing that I could do as a citizen. I'm just a citizen right now. What you could do is make a difference when it comes time to make a difference, and that's on Election Day.
What do you think City Hall should do right now, Mike?
What do I think City Hall should do?
Yeah.
I believe three things. Clear public performance data, so people see the data. Visible safety presence, which they're kind of doing in a sense, where they have people on the buses now kind of checking for fares. Open feedback channels for real response. Transit must serve riders. And I think they should have a site that's directly to the mayor's office where they can answer questions, ask questions, get answers, where they can talk with somebody, where somebody will answer their questions, not test their patience. And I think that's a big thing. And what's happening in the city right now is patients are being tested everywhere, all around the board. And then you shake your head and you go, wow, this is really happening in our city right here in Winnipeg.
What's the best way to connect with the mayor?
The best way to connect with the mayor is have, when I become mayor, could I say that? When I become mayor, when I run for mayor, I think to have an open town hall, once a month, where you can meet the mayor, you can talk with the mayor, you can ask questions. I think it's a great way.
Once a week, ask the mayor right here.
Oh, we're going to do that for sure. Listen,
well,
this show is not going to go away.
I'm glad I brought that up. I'm glad I created the idea.
We already know that. I already told you, Brad.
Oh, sure.
The one thing that we're going to do that no mayor has ever done.
Everything's his idea. Don't worry.
That no mayor has ever done in the history of this is the reason I'm doing the show. This is the reason we changed it to the Mike Vogiatzakis show. Because if I become mayor of the city, we are going to move it one step further, and it'll be Ask the Mayor. Once a week, we come on here, you ask questions, we answer it. We look at the problems that are happening in the city.
Well, you see right here where this blue box is, we had to put the blue box in because if we didn't, we'd get in trouble. But
I want to thank my friend Carrie for...
I can remove that blue box and
no
it says
kidding.
something under there.
I want to thank my friend Carrie for putting that together. It's really cool. And I can't wait for that day where you can, be on stage and you can talk to people. But I think it's going to be the coolest thing where people can actually interact with the mayor.
Absolutely.
And ask questions and get answers. And not only that, be up to date on what's happening. Brad and I, once a week, will tell you what the plan is for the week, what we're doing, what we're closing down, what we're opening, where construction is, all the things that people can hear right from the mayor's mouth instead of going on, Google and asking the question.
Or 6 hours waiting on 311.
Yeah, I say that Gillingham and Council should actually put the bus system back to where it was and add links to your area and other areas that need it, because that was working. It really was working.
What doesn't work is that it doesn't work with the 2030 agenda, Mike, and that's where they're going to do their thing. And when you get into power, that's where you make that change and things get back on track again.
Why don't we do that tonight, where we go to some of these questions and just see what people are saying and what they want answers on? And
that was good. How'd you do that?
We're going to go to some of your questions, and if you have a question right now, why don't you put it on there and we'll talk about it. And I think what drives me crazy more than anything else, and I'm dealing with this on a daily basis, seniors who come into the funeral home who tell me how bad they are struggling and how they're, and this is real serious, and I know I've said it before, but I mean it. Some seniors are actually deciding whether they should buy medication or food. It's getting that bad where they're pushed to the limits. They save for retirement, and that money just isn't there right now. Something else you could do for us, and what's important to do closer to the election, is please like, share, and follow the show. In order, I think, to win this election, which is probably going to be won on social media, that's the new way of doing things. You're going to need 50 to 100,000 followers to make a difference in this coming election, where you could share and be with other people and stuff like that. So let's go to some of these. Where's here? Randolph says there's a major mall in Regina that had to pull their large tropical plants because the individuals were, jeez. I can see that happening right here in Winnipeg, where people are walking into malls with guns and crimes completely. Christina says, got to hit the sack. Good night. Everyone wants to go to bed now. Well, this was another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. No, not Ask the Funeral Director.
4 minutes to go.
I was going to say, Brad, people have been asking, when are we going to do another Ask the Funeral Director show?
For what?
For Ask the Funeral Director, for the funeral homes. You know? Sandra says they're cutting out our community at Marion and Archibald.
Gutting.
Here, Brad, you're better at this than I am. I wanted to talk about seniors because I think they're hurting so much, but I love looking at the questions, and when you leave comments, I want you to know that I go back and I read every single one of these. And a lot of times we don't answer because there's so many going on, but light rail, Sandra says. And yeah, I'm pretty sure light rail would do a great thing in the city. And again, when the plan comes, Sean says, oh, you took that one away. Safety, the number one issue downtown, is dead because it's not safe. Transit isn't safe. Taxis are not safe. Clean up this shit. This city, you know what? I agree with you, Sean, 100%. And that's the biggest part of my platforms is what you're talking about. Is Winnipeg needs safety. It needs safety everywhere, on the buses, on the streets. And you're right. You know, a Winnipeg Jets game takes place, and 25 minutes after the game, downtown Winnipeg is completely dead. That tells you that we have a safety issue. And at the last Winnipeg Jets game that I was at, a few of my friends were at it, and 4 of them came out to broken windows with everything missing from in their cars. Mike, you're wrong. Why voted against transit? If I remember right, it passed 14-1. May have. I'm not sure. I would have to look into that.
Could be. I don't
know.
You do a retraction on that tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll do a retraction
Maybe
on
right
that next week when we.
Why don't we do it right now?
Yeah.
Just say it right now. You don't know.
If
right?
I was wrong, I apologize. If Russ Wyatt, I had a conversation with Russ Wyatt, and people say he's doing a great job in the Transcona area. So, Sandra says every councillor should step down, and the people have been asking for months to reinstate the old system, but your councillors are not listening. That's true. Out with the old, in with the new.
That's what it needs. It needs some adults back in the room, as we've said in other cities and provinces around this country. Let's see here. How about, Debbie says, well, not Debbie. Health Science Center emergency this morning. People are sleeping on the floor. They wait overnight, and even then, if they're lucky, to even see a doctor, or another 8 hours.
I go to Health Science Center quite often, and it reminds me of you walking into a war zone. There's guards everywhere. As a matter of fact, there's more guards in there than there is people half the time, and that tells you a lot about what's going on in that hospital.
Well, it's getting safer.
Is it?
Well, it must be.
I don't think
why they've got the guards there.
I don't know if the guards are. I mean, the guards are at the front. I don't know if it's getting safer. Anyways, the bottom line is our healthcare system is broken currently, and I think we need to repair. Do you think healthcare was better when we had more hospitals, where people can actually go to Concordia and Seven Oaks and all the hospitals they closed down?
You mean not the specialized ones they are today?
The rural hospitals right across Manitoba, I don't know if you know this, but a majority of them are closed down now. And they say it's because of a lack of doctors and a lack of nurses and, healthcare people.
I think you mean emergency rooms.
Emergency rooms, yeah, they're closed down
everywhere. It's not the hospital. It's the emergency room, right?
Emergency rooms are closed down everywhere.
At nighttime?
I think about, Daniel, for example, a friend of mine who is a doctor from Israel, and he comes here and they make it impossible for him to become a doctor in Canada. And you wonder why.
To take some tests. It's different. You got to make sure that they're up to date on everything that they should know, and if they're not, well, we have our rules and regulations here.
I think
I would have to do that in their country.
I think Daniel did that already. He's taken all the tests. He's
then great.
Qualified.
He should be a doctor,
and he should be a doctor. And I think we need more of that. But anyways, thank you for joining in to another edition of the Michael Vogiatzakis Show. God bless you and your families. Take care of yourselves and each other. Join us again next week, same time, same place.
Same time, same place. Good
night,
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Everlasting Memorials are Manitoba's memorial specialists. Are you looking for a memorial for your loved one or yourself? The team of expert memorial design consultants at Everlasting Memorials provides a variety of high-quality granite, marble, and bronze products in many styles, sizes, and colors. Additionally, we also produce cremation urns, pet memorials, statues, vases, and other grave accessories for you to choose from. Our in-house stonemason, graphic artist, sandblasting booth, and laser etching machine can make your design fully customized so it suits the memory. Established in 1986, we're a family business with a commitment to provide compassionate memorial products for the departed. Some of our work can be seen in small towns and big city cemeteries, parks and trails, as well as heritage sites all throughout Canada. We can help you choose a memorial that best represents the essence of a person's life. Everlasting Memorials, for the comfort of peace and remembrance. Visit us online to book your free consultation at everlastingmemorials.ca.